SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C Spire. Power your home or business with C Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C Spire. C Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Midday SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, along with Rhino in the Element Wealth Studio, guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Friday, y'all.
Heck dang, yeah, we've made it all the way to Friday. It's been a busy week, but I thought we've had some good discussion, good shows, but we got to get you current on what's happening up there in Washington, up there in the United States House of Representatives. Now, it's a bit unusual, Rhino, that you have two pieces of legislation, or measures, we'll just call them. One, a legislative measure, a bill, and the other, a resolution. And so, first, the bill, a clean continuing resolution, which basically means just keep the government funded just as it is right now, was passed in the United States House. I think it was 212, pardon me. A clean CR is what they're calling it, meaning doesn't really change anything up. You can do that. You can pass the CR, says, hey, look, keep all the spending the same, with the exception of these adjustments. That didn't happen. It's clean. Everything stays in place.
Oh, boy.
Exactly. Check it out, Rhino. I think it's because this is literally hot off the press. This is happening live. They just completed the vote through the middle of November. Is that what it is? Help me out on that. And then the other, a resolution to honor the late Charlie Kirk. However,
November 21st.
Okay, 21st. They pushed it back a few days. So not through the end of the year, and which means that...
Which just gives them the perfect excuse to, oh, no, we got to ram something through so we can go home for Thanksgiving.
That's exactly right. But I think...
Who wants to bet? Huh?
I think the strategy here is... It's all about these Obamacare subsidies. They expired, the enhanced subsidies that were enacted as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. How'd that work out, by the way? That passed in 21, and inflation got in gear and took off after that. The Inflation Reduction Act, that I believe it was 21. I think it was late 21. But nonetheless, that included a provision that rather significantly increased the subsidies, federal subsidies. It's welfare. That's what it is. Federal financial assistance for the purchase of health insurance in the Obamacare exchanges, in the marketplaces. 340,000 Mississippians purchased their coverage in the exchange, about 24 million nationally. More on that in a minute. But the other resolution, or the other measure, a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. Now, all the Democrats didn't vote in favor of that, right? Some 38, I believe, voted present, is what I heard right before I walked in the studio. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, no shot. I believe she voted a hard no.
Yeah, there were 94 Democrat yays, 58 nays, 37 presents, and 24 not voting.
Okay, 58 nays, 37. So I misheard it, and it was on my phone. I was listening to it as I was walking in the studio. So read that again, the total output, the count.
The Republicans, there were 215 yays with 4 not voting. For
Okay.
Democrats, there were 94 yays, 58 nays, 37 present, and 24 not voting.
Okay, so let's be honest. The present, that's a soft nay, is it not? Wouldn't you agree? So more voted not to recognize of in the Democrat Party than, right? The combination of the presents as that you read out and the nays exceeds the number who voted yay. Is that right, based on the math?
Yeah, by 1.
Okay. So it's insane to me that they can't see fit just to, I mean, is this a big deal? Is that you need to do that from a political perspective? I guess so, right? Oh, my constituents would get mad at me if I voted to honor the life of a 31-year-old who was just snuffed out by a murderous, nonsensical thug who now, with his bullet, created a widow and 2 small children who won't know their father growing up. Oh yeah, we can't see fit to vote in favor of that. Is that where we are as a country now? Just basic human respect? Can't do that?
Because they live in la-la land.
Well, we're
a
probably
sizable portion of the left is still convinced that this was somehow a right-wing shooter that was upset that Charlie Kirk wasn't right enough.
That does appear to be the case, which is hard to fathom that they could be so both oblivious and obtuse kind of simultaneously. I'm a little shocked, though, that so many voted no. I misunderstood it. I misheard it when I was walking in. I'm just shocked that number of people voted no. 37 present, right?
Yeah, I'm just checking the thing again, and it says 38 now. So.
30. That's what I heard, too. Okay, 38 present. How many no? 50?
58.
58. Okay. So 96 total. And in voting in favor, what'd you say, 95, 94?
Yeah, 95.
Okay. So 96 did not vote for it, and 90...
This is updating like one frame every 30 seconds.
I don't know what's going on there.
So there very well could be still voting going on.
Could be. And then I don't have a clip. You may have one that you could find for us, but this exchange, and that's putting it nicely, between Jamila Jayapal and Byron Donalds.
Pramila Jayapal?
Pramila, pardon me. I mispronounced it. I was thinking about just what had happened. I was shocked to see this sort of behavior in the United States House of Representatives.
I didn't see anything about her.
Oh,
I saw Rashida Tlaib and Byron Donalds getting into it.
You're right. It's Rashida Tlaib. My apologies. I confused the two, and I apologize for that. My bad there. So should have been a little bit better prepared. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. And, you know, you can't totally fault me for interchanging them because they're both just lunatics, honestly. But, yeah, she got into a little dust up there with Byron Donalds and did she not call him a Nazi? Can we just dispense with calling everybody Nazis? Honestly. That's just stupid. The Nazis and the main figure in Nazism that we all know is one Adolf Hitler. Are you equating Byron Donalds to Adolf Hitler? I know you have Donald Trump. Might as well throw everybody else that you disagree with politically into that bucket, I guess. That was just astonishing to me. Even my daughter noticed that. Sent it to me last night, said, What does the rest of the world think about when they watch this sort of behavior on the floor of the U.S. House? And I wonder that as well. Because you know what immediately comes into my mind? We've all seen the videos of these third world countries where their governments are gathered together. And
if we can get that binder off the desk and get it out the door, then the law doesn't pass. Right. Come on, guys. Let's have a scrum.
And they're throwing stuff at each other and jumping up and down. That's what it reminds me of.
I wouldn't go quite that far. It reminds me a lot of the Brits, where it's just from the other side while somebody's trying to talk. And they're rebutting with like these polite Victorian-era insults.
I do love that when they have the prime minister over on a weekly basis, right? What's cool about that particular chamber, it truly is just perfectly divided rectangularly. Ours is a little hard to tell, because it's semicircle. Theirs is no doubt. Everybody and they look at each other, right? And they always preface it, does the right honorable gentleman know he's just a douche or something like that? We're coming right back. Stay with us.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Check it out. Let's do this. The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Back with you in the Element Wealth Studio. It's Middays. We got Jim Leggette, Lecturer of Economics, Mississippi State University at 10:35. It's Caleb Sailors, Multimedia Journalist, of course, with SuperTalk Mississippi News at 11:20. All right, Rhino found us a little snippet of this barter of words back and forth between Rashida Tlaib and Congressman Byron Donalds. Here we go.
But Mr. Chair, but you all live here, and you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our nation's capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're doing it.
Chairman, I think it's insane that the chair lady doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues. We were from the Third Reich. This is insane. It's insane.
15-year-olds as
it's
a bunch of criminals?
It's insane. Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib? Is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting card.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. And I'll respect everything that you say. But to say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line. It's way out of line.
Regular order, Mr.
Way out of line.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay, right?
That is not how it goes.
It's okay, right?
You hold yourself accountable before you talk about
Hold myself accountable. Hold your own self
accountable.
accountable. How about that? Hold your own self accountable. How about that?
Free DC. And make sure you vote with your own voting card. Don't be giving it to somebody else.
Yes, the U.S. House at work there, right? That's sad. That's just crazy. And what that was about, if you couldn't tell, was they're talking about the city of Washington, D.C., and she wants you to see all the beautiful things there. And Donalds, I think, was talking about how effective the president's deployment of the National Guard into the city has been. Didn't they have Muriel Bowser, I think, the mayor? She was up there on the Hill talking about it, if I'm not mistaken. This may have been post that. But, man, what's the deal about your voting card? What in the world is she talking about there? And you could hear whoever was presiding as the chairman at that point, trying to restore order there. It's disheartening as an American to see that going on in the United States House. And, the sad thing is, she'll win in that district as long as she wants to. That's sad. That's where we are. She, of course, a member of the squad. I don't have to look at the vote record to figure out where she voted on the Charlie Kirk resolution. I think that's a foregone conclusion.
What will be entertaining, though, is maybe not this next election cycle, but the next, when the squad finally has enough experience under their belt to try to run for president. But then it's going to be a whole bunch of backbiting and infighting to decide who gets to actually run.
Man, that is true. Because they'll eat their own. There's no doubt. Absolutely true about that. Karen in Oxford says they only celebrate the Floyds in our society. That is kind of surreal to think about, isn't it, Karen, that they held that guy up as such a saint. And remember the crazy event in the Capitol there where they all put on like the scarves representing Africa and they were all in the rotunda kneeling, but they had the wrong scarves on or something like that. What a joke that was. And does it not come off as just so phony? It does to me. It just looks phony.
It does to anybody with any kind of common sense or brain, but sadly, common sense and intelligence are severely lacking for the vast majority of those on the left. They think they're smart, and in fact, statistically, they may be smarter than average, but the vast majority of them are nowhere near as smart as they think they are.
Well, by the way, Maxine Dexter, a Democrat from Oregon, this is just coming across on the screen right now. She issued a statement. See if you can find it, Rhino. Maxine Dexter on why she voted present on the Charlie Kirk resolution. How about that? Thank you for that explanation there, Congresswoman. You're a tool. I'm just going to tell you. That's just crazy. What does that hurt? I could understand if it was voting on a resolution for someone that engaged in lots of criminal activity, was destructive to society, hurt, harmed, killed other people. Yeah.
Quote, I condemn political violence in the strongest possible terms, but I could not support a resolution that, under the guise of denouncing political violence, also amplified rhetoric that I know to be harmful, divisive, and fuel the very extremism we see today. Rather than give this resolution more oxygen by voting no, I voted present. I will not lend my vote to a process that deepens division and puts more people at risk.
What in the hell is she talking about? I mean, I kind of think I understand.
She doesn't want to face the wrath of the now right-wing cancel culture by coming out and voting no, but she believes in her heart of hearts that she should have voted no because she still thinks that the people doing all of this are on the right. When, unless you fudge the numbers, it's pretty obvious political violence comes from the left and has for a while.
Lots of reports, right, that have been released and distributed, statistical sort of data. I mean, like a record of incidents in the political ideology of the people who engaged in those activities, and those criminal activities. To me, though, I think what they're missing that makes the strongest statement is the fact that I can't recall anyone on the right, and if it's the case, please let me know, because I will stand corrected and I'll share it, of people celebrating the death of political enemies. I'm not talking about celebrating the death of a bona fide card-carrying murderous terrorist like Osama bin Laden. Remember Barack Obama? Osama bin Laden is dead. I mean, it was his deal, and I applaud him for it. Yeah, I think that's worth celebrating because it ridded the world of a bad person who sought nothing but to do harm to others.
Welcome to how the left views anyone with an opinion right of themselves. You are a bad person that does harm to the world.
And so, thus, we celebrate your death. That's what's more telling than anything. We could sit here and argue about, okay, who committed most of these heinous acts, even though that's not in dispute. But the bigger issue is, help me find somebody on the right that celebrated the death of a political opponent, a political adversary. I don't mean an adversary like bin Laden or Saddam Hussein. I'm not talking about people like that wreaked havoc on the world. And if I were alive at the time that Nazi Germany fell, I would have celebrated that too. And I would have celebrated the way Mussolini and his clan were hung in the public square and is executed and beat and spat on because that guy was oppressive. He truly did hurt people. Well, give me an example of where Charlie Kirk hurt people, but you talk about all the time. Well, he hurt their feelings, right?
And words are violent.
Right. He didn't harm them physically. In fact, he believed quite the opposite, and he espoused the Christian belief and values of respect for human life. He espoused it everywhere. So, because he doesn't think that as a transgender person you ought to get all these special privileges and rights, well, that to them, that qualifies as you being a target for your own death. That's how they think.
They wrap themselves into pretzels and say, well, if you're not 100% in line with a man becoming a woman and a man could be pregnant, then you're saying that they don't exist. And if you say they don't exist, that means then you want them dead. So it's justified for us to try to kill you because you're trying to kill us with your words. Welcome to the mind of the left.
If they spend 10% of the time, you're right. What you just described, I think, is spot on. Of the time and the energy and what little brain power they have to come up with that crazy, twisted logic, as they spent that much time doing something productive for society, we'd all be better off. But no, that's their life. It's wrapped up in that crap. Jim Leggette, lecturer of economics, Mississippi State University, joins us next. Stay with us.
From the
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. It's our pleasure to welcome now Jim Leggette, lecturer of economics at Mississippi State University. Hey, Jim.
Morning, Gerard. I was just listening to your bump music from Dire Straits. And I go, well, now I know why no one likes economics, because that world doesn't work. Money for nothing, chicks for
money. That's right. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. So, first, what do you think?
I tried, it didn't work.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So the Fed, no shock there. They cut the benchmark rate by a quarter a point. I know there was some that thought, well, maybe they'll see fit to chop it by half a point, but I think largely the market had already baked in a quarter a point. But then yesterday, and I don't know if it's because of that action or not, but all four indexes hit record highs. It was a good day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good day. And and I guess when you back up in this, I think one of the hardest jobs in the world, maybe even harder than the president's, is being Fed chair. Because you're forced to navigate between two conflicting goals, stable prices and low unemployment. And if you move slightly to one way, you give up the other. So I think it was the right move. You're always going to be wrong because everybody knows, 2020 hindsight. I think it's the right way. And I think inflation, we kind of got that under control, but not really. And then there are enough dark clouds on the horizon. I wouldn't say money for nothing and chicks for free either.
A lot of concerns about the job market, Jim. What do you think about the latest data there? To the extent we can rely on it, of course.
Yeah, well, and I'm concerned about the true-up, which they go through all the time.
Yeah.
It seems to be bigger than it has before. But I think there are some signs that point to it's not as robust as we think it is, and those clouds of uncertainty are kind of still out there. We easily lose track of the idea. We're at 4.3% unemployment, and there was a time we would have erected a gold statue to whoever had to be the Fed
absolutely
chair.
Right. Yeah. 10%, right, when Obama took office, as I recall, after the banking meltdown in the fall of 2008.
Yeah. And it took forever to get it down to something that you could argue whether the Fed did was right, but I think when you have financial crisis. And it took Reagan a long time to get it down to 5, and then when he did, it was happy days are here. What was the old ad? It's Morning in America.
Morning in America, that's right. Yep, Morning in America for his reelection. Yeah.
And that was a masterpiece of political craft.
Oh, man, was it ever. I mean, and he was really good at just projecting optimism and thoughts and feelings of positivity. He was really good at that. It seemed like we're at each other's throats every day now in our political discourse. Hopefully that'll change.
And I think it will. I think we go. I listened to those clips you had. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do something easy like economics. But I think what's kind of missing, and maybe it's a rare person that did this, but I'm thinking like we have national tragedies all the time. Charlie Kirk one is just a series of those. But you think of the beautiful words he delivered after the Challenger thing. And of course he had a very good speech writer, Peggy Noonan, but he also knew how to deliver because I couldn't deliver like that.
She was unbelievable at it, no doubt. And I don't think he's been equaled since then, for sure. All right, so there's still concerns about the labor market, and of course the Feds, as you know, they're in a bit of a conundrum when you look at their dual mandate. They got inflation still not where they wanted to, but they got a weakening job market. And, of course, typically their action to a job market that seems to be on the straits, it would be to lower rates, thinking that would stimulate capital investment and just business expansion and thus jobs. But so they're kind of torn between those two dynamics.
Yeah, and in fact, that Congress set them up like that is kind of interesting. The EU, that probably is a good counterpart. They only have one mission: stable prices.
Yeah.
Low inflation. And
talking about their central bank, bank, Jim, the central bank of the EU only has one mandate. Bank. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to. They saw what happened in Germany in the 20s.
Yeah.
And of course, particularly the Germans said, we ain't doing that again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think seared in our collective memory, the 25% unemployment in the Great Depression. And the way I kind of teach it, before kids sit in the front row, okay, that means one of you doesn't have a job. And, we really nearly tore ourselves apart over 10.
That's right. You're exactly right. And that's little different scenario. And then I think the Fed still expresses concerns about the impact of tariffs, believing that that's not fully matriculated throughout the economy. What do you think? I tend to agree with that. I don't think we've seen it all yet. There are a lot of reports I'm seeing, Jim, that say right now the American importers who pay the tariffs are for the most part absorbing the lion's share of those. and then the foreign exporters are absorbing a quarter or so, and a small, less than 10% is being pushed down to the consumers.
And that's my read of it, too, because I think one problem is, I think, as you pointed out, that they're not really sure what's going on. So let's see if we can hold on for a while.
Yeah.
Because I think the Supreme Court's going to decide the legality of it. But we know you can't eat those costs forever.
Right.
And then also the other problem is you don't even know what the rate is one day. One of the things the way I like to think about policy, I can deal with bad policy. I can't really deal with uncertain policy.
Right. Absolutely. And that, I think I was just going to say, in business, my take on it as a business person making business decisions, I say all the time, it's faith, confidence, and certainty. That's what you need to make those decisions. And we don't have that. You tend to just sit tight and sort of freeze and pause and just wait for the dust to settle before you make those critical decisions. I think that's fairly accurate across our economy.
And in fact, my wife's a real estate broker, and what she's observed, we're all about the same age.
Yeah.
But what she's observed in the many years that she's been in that business, during elections, presidential elections, which are a period of uncertainty.
Sure.
Because you don't know who's going to be in control. People hold back on making those major decisions. So I raise that not just to champion her, but her insights, which is always a good thing, right? If you and I are holding off on the decision, what if you're the chairman of, let's say, pick your favorite company, and you're figuring out what to do with a $5 billion decision?
Major
if you get
dollars.
It wrong.
Yeah, that's right. It's major dollars. So one thing that I caught, I'm sure you did too, just in listening to Chairman Powell, when he was talking about GDP growth, and he estimated, 1.6% for the year, but halfway into the year, we're at 3%. So is he expecting a significant decline for the remainder of the year? What's going on there?
Well, we got one quarter that was about zero.
Yeah.
Because they basically choked off the export sector.
Yeah.
I think, but why he's citing that, I think it's more support of why he lowered the rates is if GDP is slowing down.
Sure.
That means jobs are slowing down, and people often forget it's GDP first, then jobs.
Yeah.
You were a good enough businessman to know you didn't hire people before you had revenue, right?
Heck yeah. You sometimes would take that risk, but it's hard to sleep at night, honestly, while you're going through that period.
And you kind of like living in your house.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, I was just surprised. That's exactly right. I was just surprised that he projected, and then 1.5 next year and 1.7 for 27. I think that was his outlook. But the White House is saying, right? Well, White House is saying, no. In fact, Kevin Hassett said it the other day. He said, I think we can get to between 3% and 4%, maybe even higher than that, based on the regulatory form tax environment. What do you think?
Well, I really hope he's right, but no one's been able to do that for quite a while. Now, what's interesting about the math is, until about mid-2000s, we were bumping along at 3% growth for a long time.
Yeah.
And you know how compounding works.
Oh, yeah.
It took the average, like a $16,000 per capita income to like a 50.
Yeah, right.
And if you get to 2, it's like,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Jim, always enjoyed talking to you. Appreciate you joining us today. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, you guys have a good weekend and enjoy some football.
Yeah, you got it. Jim Leggette, Lecturer of Economics, Mississippi State. We're coming right back.
Mississippi.
Well, I got a spam call on the break, and they left a voicemail, and all they said was goodbye. Oh, man. So, back to this continuing resolution that passed 217 to 212. One Democrat, Gerard Golden of Maine, joined the 216 Republicans who voted yay. Two GOP lawmakers, that would be predictably Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky and Victoria Sparks of Indiana, they voted in the negative column against the measure. Now, to be clear, this is what the president wants. He wants a continuing resolution to keep the government funded, keep it going. He doesn't want it to be shut down on his watch. I would like to see him apply a little more pressure on the Congress to pass the bills that fund the government through the process of regular order 12 appropriations bills. And by the way, two of those have made it, I'm told, to conference, if I'm not mistaken. I think I got that right.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I heard that either late yesterday or this morning with one of the reps who was being interviewed on the Business Channel. So the House is at least trying to adopt the process or adopt the resolutions, the bills themselves exactly, through the regular order process. They're trying to adhere to that process. But and to send 12 bills to the Senate. But what happens in the Senate is anybody's guess at this point. Right now, the Democrats are pretty dug in, saying, yeah, not extending the ACA enhanced subsidies, the Obamacare enhanced subsidies, is a non-starter for Democrats to vote in the affirmative. And you got to have, if you get all Republicans, you need 7 Democrats to pass the measure in the upper chamber there in the Senate.
Thune does seem pretty dang worthless.
Yeah, he's needs to be more forceful, I feel like.
Because he enabled the blocking of recess appointments for their August recess. And then comes back and they change the rules to push through appointments.
I saw that. It's one big bulk approval.
So instead of just allowing recess appointments, which were already a precedent, no, let's make a new precedent by changing the rule. That won't bite anybody in the rear in the future.
Yeah. And to your point, Rhino, Victoria Sparks, one of the Republicans from the great state of Indiana who voted no, here's what she said. I am willing to vote for a CR of any duration, short or long, the least damage to the Republic, but I cannot support one that ends funding right before a major holiday to jam us with an omnibus. I've seen this playbook too many times. Oh, so taking a little stock in historical practice there in the Congress is Representative Sparks here. And I go back to 23, was it? Yeah, the omnibus bill of 23 when Kevin McCarthy, you remember that? He pleaded with the Senate, don't pass this omnibus bill. Let us get seated and let's pass legislation through the regular order process. We'll deliberate it. We'll amend it. We'll create these 12 bills. We'll send it to the Senate. You guys can pass it then. But no, unfortunately, 16, 17.
That was last year, wasn't it?
No, the omnibus was 2 years ago. Check me out on that. It was right after McCarthy was slated, after the midterms, slated to be, it was in late 22, 4/23, I believe, slated to be the Speaker of the House. And it was in late 22 when he heard the rumblings of, we're going to pass this big omnibus bill. And he said, please wait, let us get seated. Again, he was expected to be kind of the Speaker of the House in waiting at the time. And he attempted to persuade them to stand off. And they didn't, and they rammed it through.
Yeah, you're right. It was McCarthy versus McConnell.
Right. And McConnell persuaded a handful of Republicans, which included our Senator Wicker. And if you remember, the three bills that I've talked about frequently that all passed with help of Republicans in the Senate, all included, for the most part, that same group of Republicans. That McConnell was the ringleader in that respect, the Senate minority leader. And Senator Wicker voted as well for the omnibus bill. And I think that's what Victoria Sparks is saying here. Yeah, I've seen this before. I don't know how long she's been in Congress. That wasn't the first omnibus bill. Now, that's different than a continuing resolution in that it is a bill that is debated, and it does change funding and how much goes to where, but it's just all stuck and crammed into one big bill. You either vote yes or no. That's different than regular order, which is 12 separately debated bills that fund the respective functions of government, the categories of government. We're coming right back.
Of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Hour 2 of Middays is now live from the Element Wealth Studio on this
Friday, y'all.
Caleb Sailors, a multimedia journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News, will join Middays with an update in the next segment. Yeah, so right now we're looking at this omnibus bill of 2023. It passed on December 20th, 2022. That might be what Representative Sparks is relying on for her no vote, because it's exactly what you said, right? Sandwiched in there between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Let's get this thing done and get the hell out of here, right?
Well, I think this one falls right before their Thanksgiving break.
Right, the continuing resolution does, yeah.
So it doesn't quite have the whole, hey, you got to get home for Christmas.
That's true.
It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
and they're going to go on for Thanksgiving, so they're going to push something through just to get it done, and we'll put it off till after Christmas, after New Year.
And we got to point out that, and I'm not sure again of his purpose, his reasoning. He hasn't said, but the president wants this at this point. That doesn't indicate that he is not in favor of passing the 12 appropriations bills through the regular order process. It just means right now he is encouraging the Republicans in the Congress.
It's pretty self-evident that even though the same party is in charge of the Senate, it is not a friendly Senate to the president.
That is absolutely true. I would agree with that. But I did find the full list of Republicans. I wanted to make sure I had that right to pass on to you, that voted in favor of this 2023 bill now, and in the Senate, because that's critical, because the House was maintained by the Democrats, so that was a no-brainer. But to pass in the Senate, once again, you've got to overcome the 60-vote filibuster, and that means the Democrats at that point in 2022 had to peel off some Republicans. Well, they got more than they needed. They got 18. They only needed 10, and those 18 included the current Senate Majority Leader, John Thune from South Dakota, Mississippi's Roger Wicker, Mike Rounds, who's somebody I really like from South Dakota. I was a little surprised at that. So you got both South Dakota senators who voted in favor of that legislation. Of course, Mitch McConnell, I believe he was the ringleader. And who's the other one that surprised me a little bit? And let's see, that was, from Arkansas, Tom Cotton. He also voted for it. But that's because in the way they sold this to their constituents, hey, this bill included a big increase in military spending. And Lindsey Graham, who also voted yay, Tom Cotton, those guys always seem they never met a military dime, right, they wouldn't vote for. So, kind of interesting. So, here's something to think about. Right now, we got this continuing resolution, which has now passed the House, headed to the Senate. We'll see what happens over there. The Democrats are saying, no, we got to put in these enhanced subsidies to get our vote, to continue the enhanced subsidies, which were temporarily implemented in the Inflation Reduction Act. I think I'm wrong about that. I think it was the American Rescue Plan. It was the
COVID era.
It was the COVID era. Yeah, so I apologize. I knew I was right in terms of it being 2021.
So they
That's
want to
what
bring
I got
back
wrong.
emergency provisions of the COVID
That's
era.
correct. That's what they're wanting to continue. Right? So
it makes political sense to allow it to go to the point where there is a government shutdown, because then you can pretty much put all the blame at the feet of the Democrats for being unreasonable and trying to put emergency powers back into something that doesn't need it.
I think their calculation is, no, that's going to reflect poorly on the Republicans because we're trying to keep your health care premiums down. And here's what's going to happen. People are about to get that are in the exchanges, and as well as in the commercial insurance market, outside the exchanges, especially in the group market. Right now, in the next couple of months, I should say not right now, but sometime between now and the end of the year, employers are going to be notified by their carriers what they can expect in terms of the cost of premiums next year. It is widely expected that health insurance is going to increase double digits next year, 12 to 15%. And that not only is going to affect the cost of premiums in the exchanges, but the subsidies are set to expire, the enhanced subsidies, at the end of the year, returning to the pre-COVID era subsidy model. And that's going to be a double whammy to the 24 million people who buy their insurance in the exchanges. The Democrats are counting on those people getting their announcements, seeing this huge increase in their premiums, and blaming it on the Republicans. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not, but I know that's the strategy for the Democrats at this point. I'm disappointed, Rhino, and it seems like every day there's a new reason for my disappointment. In Josh Hawley of Missouri, who, by the way, is indicating he's for this. Now, this is the guy you remember that brought the airline executives and the credit card executives up and just ate them up to the Capitol and questioned them up and down. And was it the Visa said, how much money do you make? And I just think that's completely inappropriate for a U.S. senator to ask that question. Like, was that Bernie Sanders or a Republican from Missouri that asked that question? Not only that, he knows that's all fully published, disclosed in their documents. They're required, their reports to file under our laws with the Securities and Exchange Commission. You have to disclose the top executives' pay. It's a public company. The public has a right to know that. But no, he had a grandstand and make. I'm not a fan of this guy, as you can tell anymore. I had such high hopes for him when he first got there. It's like, yeah, this is an up-and-coming good conservative senator from the show-me state of Missouri. But he's disappointed. That episode really is what of him questioning corporate CEOs that look, again, more like a question session that you would see, an inquisition from Bernie Sanders than a Republican senator. But now he's come out and said, yeah, I think I could get on board. He's also the one that complained about the Medicaid reforms in the One Big Beautiful Bill, you recall. So that's what's going on up there in the Senate, guys. Let's take a look closer to home. You probably saw this report, Rhino, about the Clinton High School. That's in Hinds County, Mississippi, of course. Shut down blocked an attempt to start a Turning Point USA chapter this week. Huh? We have, and
there are even reports that there were grown adults that I think the terminology that was used was infiltrated a teen group chat to gather intel.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's not cool. So I think they're
fairly certain it's unlawful.
Correct. And I also think we have law in the state of Mississippi that would preclude.
That's what I mean. It's not unlawful for parents to be in their kids' group chat.
Okay, yeah. So, no, it's just despicable, though, honestly, I would say. But we have law in the state of Mississippi that paves the way and permits the formation of these sorts of groups such that the school cannot decline, cannot prohibit it. But that's exactly what they're doing. So are they in violation of law here?
It would seem so.
Well, I hope some action is taken on that. I really do. And then something else to update you on, a polarizing yet extremely high-profile issue of interest to Mississippians, of course, something we talk about all the time. That's education freedom, school choice. I've seen now where the Clinton School District and the Pearl School District, that would be in Rankin County, both those districts have adopted resolutions, it appears, to oppose school choice. So the education establishment in the state of Mississippi, they're working pretty hard, are they not, to block.
Protect their little fiefdom.
Correct, to block the attempt. So how do they feel being so closely aligned with the likes of Randy Weingarten?
With her new book?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Tell the folks what that book is.
Oh, what is the title of it? I know it's got fascist in the title. She just couldn't help herself.
I was just a bit shocked at that and put out by that. Her book that just came out.
Why Fascists Fear Teachers.
That's it. Why Fascists Fear Teachers. Is that like the ultimate projection? There's no one that's a bigger fascist in terms of their beliefs and their behavior than her and her organization. Caleb Saylor's up next.
What's happening? Hey, Mississippi.
The great Tom Petty bumping us into this segment now in the Element Wealth studio. It's Caleb Saylor's Multimedia Journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News. What's happening, Caleb?
Thinking about how much I'd rather listen to Tom Petty than the intro jingle for the news clip. But yeah, we've got a lot going on in Mississippi this week, Gerard. It's been a very kind of heart-heavy week, and I'll lead with a story that's relatively new out of the Mississippi Delta, and this is not regarding the Trey Reed incident, but we will get into that in a minute. Mississippi Delta Community College announced this morning that one of its football players tragically passed away last night following complications he experienced after the team played at Hines Community College last night. Emmanuel Cooks is his name. He's a freshman offensive lineman from Alabama. And right now the Moorhead campus, where Mississippi Delta Community College is located, is offering counseling services to faculty, students, anybody that was impacted by his death. But we don't know specific details, what kind of injury, what kind of complications we had, but we do know that he was hospitalized and passed away.
Man, hate to hear that. Seems like every year there's an incident like that, right?
Football, I tell people this. I'm a football guy, Gerard. I mean, I've seen you at football games. We all love football. It's we're in a football state, but it's a very dangerous sport, and you never know what's going to happen on the gridiron any given. Not this time, a Thursday night, and it's just sad to see. You take a risk. I played football. You take a risk when you play it. You just don't know you're taking that specific risk. But my prayers specifically are with the Cooks family at this time, and our hearts are out to them and the Mississippi Delta Community College community.
Yeah.
And staying in the Mississippi Delta, huge story out of Cleveland this week, a tragic one at that. 21-year-old Trey Reed, a native of Grenada, was found on the campus of Delta State University hanging, and which obviously caused widespread, social media coverage, national coverage, and with Mississippi having, a troubled past with race relations and racial violence, some people, I wouldn't say rush to conclusions because we still don't know specifically what happened to Trey Reed, but there were some that were sensationalizing the moment. But we do know right now from the investigations, the local county coroner in Bolivar County, the campus police chief, and now the state medical examiner's office are saying there are no signs of foul play in Reed's death. There were people on social media saying that Reed had multiple broken limbs, that it would have been virtually impossible for him to, commit an act of suicide, in which the ruling right now is that he died by suicide. Right now, law enforcement authorities and medical review analysts have said, there's no evidence to support that. However, the family has reached out to civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who has represented many high-profile cases, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, Michael Brown. He's even done stuff here in Mississippi before to do an independent autopsy, and the independent autopsy is being funded by Colin Kaepernick, which we all know, the former NFL player, led the 49ers to a Super Bowl, but didn't have the best relationship with the NFL afterward for some of his activism. But it's just a tragic situation, and people are seeking answers right now. I know there were some criticisms about Delta State University President Dr. Ennis, who's a friend of our show, friend of our program here at SuperTalk, but there were comments saying that he didn't reach out to family members, didn't talk to family members after Reed's death, and he squashed that rumor earlier this week on Wednesday during a press conference, saying, look, Trey left us his emergency contacts when he became a student here, and I contacted those people out of respect for him and the wishes he had for us, to whom he wanted us to contact. If something happening to him, those are the people we contacted.
It's incredible. So the NAACP and the Southern Poverty Law Center, both of those organizations have made statements regarding this as well, right? I thought the NAACP actually initially referenced it as a lynching.
And a lot of people online have said the same thing too, and it's tragic that we're quick to say these things without reviewing all the evidence. But I know Congressman Benny Thompson has called for the FBI to look into the matter, and thankfully local law enforcement officials here in Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, the Bolivar County Sheriff's Office, have turned over all evidence and all information to the FBI too, so the federal authorities can review the situation. But I really do hope this can be put to rest soon, and people can, I hope the family can grieve peacefully, without any kind of fear of retribution, without fear of anything huge happening. And I hope that the Delta State community can grieve peacefully too. It's just tragic when anything like this happens, and especially when it gets sensationalized to this degree, and people kind of want to make it out to be something that it may not be. We don't know yet. We don't know what happened, other than right now officials are saying that the early reports are that he died by suicide. The toxicology report should be available within the next few weeks, and the FBI and law enforcement authorities are continuing to investigate.
But that's all we have at this point.
That's all we have right now. And even if something were to have happened, there were no suspects of interest or anybody. So I just, my prayers are with the Delta State community right now, though, as they go through this time.
Well, hopefully we'll get something even more definitive,
more tangible,
and we can put this thing to rest. I mean, at this point, all indications are is both the coroner, right,
the county coroner and the state medical examiner.
Okay. No foul play.
No foul play suspected. Law enforcement said the same thing.
All right.
Another big story that happened this week, and this is kind of news that we broke earlier in the week. We reported on a Mississippi college professor, an assistant professor there, who had shared a very, arguably insensitive post in the aftermath of the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Well, Mississippi College reached out to us to let us know that 2 of its employees had been suspended pending further review. Now, the college, it being a private college, didn't have to disclose the names, kind of like Ole Miss did last week. Didn't reveal who was being suspended at the time, but we do know that one professor did share, arguably insensitive comment about Charlie Kirk on Facebook. But we do know that they're cracking down on it, and we see this at campuses across the country right now. I mean, I saw posts from Auburn University, Texas A&M University, I believe the University of Tennessee, others, cracking down on people sharing I would say, espousing thoughts and views that don't reflect those of the institution. And Mississippi College, specifically being a Christian university, prides itself on hiring faculty and staff that have biblical-based values. And one assistant professor in question, I won't name any names, shared a post comparing Charlie Kirk's death to a Greek tragedy filled with irony and self-fulfilling prophecies, essentially saying that since he was such a staunch gun rights advocate, he deserved to die by gunfire. Essentially kind of equating it to like what Jesus said to Peter, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. So if you advocate for gun rights, well, guess what? You'll die by gun rights. And of course that's very, very inappropriate, very, very irresponsible, and I would argue evil to suggest such. But the college hasn't released additional details other than they're reviewing the comments that were made by the staffers, and that's all we know at the time.
That's incredible. So no action at this point, right?
No, just suspension. And it wasn't like Ole Miss that fired the staffer that shared a very, very
that was over the top.
Yeah, and tried to play it off as I was in the heat of the moment, Gerard, I will speak personally on this, too. I mean, we all say things in the heat of the moment. We all do things in the heat of the moment. But there are, like as we're seeing right now by people losing their jobs over this, there are consequences for what we say and how we say things. I mean, if I went on a social media tirade and said some things that didn't reflect this company well, I'd probably be in an office right now being told to pack my stuff up and leave. I mean, that's how it works. And there's people who are trying to draw a line and say, well, you guys are all for free speech until someone says something that hurts your feelings. Well, there's a difference between advocating for someone to be prosecuted for free speech, right, or for speaking their mind, and for someone to not be employed by someone who they don't represent the values of.
Two private parties.
Two very different deals.
Yeah.
And we're seeing now that, these schools are saying, no, we're not going to allow you to celebrate or champion a man's death. That's just not going to happen.
Don't know that we've seen the end of this.
No,
honestly.
No, I don't think we have. And I hope, my hope, though, Gerard, is that political tensions calm and ease. Now, that's wishful thinking. I don't think that will happen. But that is my hope, is that we can come together and unify as a country over, hey, maybe we shouldn't kill each other for our political views.
Yeah.
Hey, I do have a cool story, Gerard, a good story to brighten up the audience here. Well, maybe some of the audience. The Mississippi State fans may not be excited about this one, but Trinidad Chambliss, the backup Ole Miss quarterback, I know you and I both got to watch him live on Saturday, and man, what a show he put on in Oxford. Wasn't expecting that. Well, he got the Maxwell Award Player of the Week honor.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
How about that?
Nationally.
I didn't know that.
The SEC didn't recognize him, but the Maxwell Award nationally recognized him. He had 415 total yards and 3 touchdowns against Arkansas. And Lane Kiffin hasn't announced it yet, but I would be shocked if Trinidad doesn't take most, if not all, of the snaps tomorrow against Tulane.
He hasn't said for sure, but he did say that Simmons is healthy.
He said he expects Austin Simmons to start this weekend. But
he did.
That's because he doesn't have to release an injury report because Ole Miss is playing a non-SEC opponent.
That's true.
He can play head games with
that's absolutely
John
true.
Sumrall.
Yeah, and he may just be doing that. Oh, game time decision, right?
I mean, Lane Kiffin, really?
Exactly.
Would Lane Kiffin do such a thing?
Master chess player.
That's right.
Caleb Sailors, multimedia journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News. Appreciate it, Caleb.
Thank you, Gerard.
Coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
From the
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom.
Ziggy. The great David Bowie. That was one of his more popular tunes there, wasn't it? And it was recorded and released kind of around that era, wasn't it? Early 70s, I think. Kind of when we were all captivated by all the space stuff.
69.
Okay. Right in the heart of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the moon deal, right? 69, first trip to the moon. For those that believe we actually went to the moon, there's you and I have had that discussion offline extensively.
It was secretly recorded at an army base in Nevada by Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, man. Sports Talk Mississippi, they're going to be in Hernando today as Hernando High School celebrates the opening of their brand new state-of-the-art campus. Plus, the Hernando Tigers football team will host Center Hill for homecoming. It's already homecoming? Wow. After the show, that's Sports Talk Mississippi in Hernando for the opening of the new campus at Hernando High. Congratulations to Hernando High. And I know you'll enjoy having the Sports Talk gang there. It ought to be a lot of fun. And a good game as well on homecoming. Good luck on your homecoming. And by the way, I'm not criticizing you because you're having homecoming. I'm just shocked at where's the time going. It's more about that. But we start football season in high school mid-August, second, third week of August, somewhere around there.
It depends.
Yeah. So I guess we're a month into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course the broadcast on SuperTalk Mississippi are incredible for high school football. Best coverage anywhere. No doubt about it. On the C Spire text line, let's get to some of the text here. 601-879-4395. Government controls healthcare, industrial production, everything from cradle to grave, says Philip in Walthall County. And Philip, after I get through some more texts, I'm going to talk about something that was announced.
Well, he was talking specifically about Nazis.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The definition of Nazism?
He said, before that, he said Nazi is the German abbreviation for National Sozialistische,
You're
whatever
right.
it is, Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, or whatever it is, which is National Socialist German Workers' Party. And he says they were socialists, Nazis were leftists, not fascists. And again, I reiterate that they were socialists inasmuch as North Korea is the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. The Nazis sold socialism to gain support from the working class, and as soon as they consolidated power, they started cracking down on unions and socialists and the like.
Well, Nazism is mostly believed to be a form of fascism.
Yes. It has,
it's a form of fascism.
More racially focused.
That's right.
It's in the same vein as fascism.
It has that component, that pure society racial component that believes it's essential and necessary to pursue the agenda of the party. It is so thought necessary to eliminate certain races of people, right? So that you end up with this one pure race. That's where it all came from. And, I mean, we could talk for hours about Adolf Hitler and what shaped him to think that way and be that way and then exterminate 6 million Jews. To the extent people believe that actually happened. There are some that do not, sadly, in my view. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And are delusional in that respect. But that's the key difference, wouldn't you agree, between Nazism and fascism is that what's the word for it? Eugenics. The eugenics component of Nazism. And eugenics just means, we're looking to eliminate everybody that doesn't look a certain way.
Undesirables.
Right. Certain bloodlines. And that's what Nazism practiced was eugenics.
And they did so by disarming those populations.
Yeah, started with that. Absolutely true. So appreciate that. Agree with you, Philip. And that's why I think it's inappropriate to toss that word around in such a casual fashion, to label your political enemies as Nazis, as Hitlers. That's insane. You may not like what they stand for, what they believe, and we're again referring back to this ridiculous assertion by Rashida Tlaib about Congressman Byron Donalds. And how rich is it that he's a black man being told that, right? Unbelievable.
We were talking earlier about the Are there any on the right that were celebrating the death of their political opponents?
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of an example. I could think of a counterexample, and it would seem to fly in the face of the assertion that the right celebrate the deaths of their political opponents because, I mean, you ask a leftist who's the most evil on the right, they're going to say Trump.
No doubt.
How did Trump react to learning the news of the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the tarmac there?
Yeah.
Very graciously.
With condolences. Yeah, absolutely true.
And Ruth Bader Ginsburg couldn't stand the man.
Totally true. Absolutely true. Now, while she was alive, different story, right? But the death of that's where the line is drawn, is it not? Because we're talking about a mere war of words, which doesn't hurt anybody, except in their view it does, as you point out all the time. You hurt my feelings.
Words are violence.
Right.
And somehow silence is also violence.
Right.
So
But
if you say something I don't agree with, you're being violent. If you don't say something I agree with, you're being violent.
But even worse, they condone and sanction real violence as free expression. Oh, I'm just expressing my opinion while I'm burning this building down and pillaging the assets within it. Oh, that's free expression. That's how sick that is. So this moral equivalence that they're trying to strike there, oh, it's both sides. No, show me some examples of where people on the right. And by the way, here's the other key difference. You know this. If someone on the right had reacted in such an inhumane, disrespectful fashion, pretty sure we'd call them out as well. That doesn't know party. That's not associated with your political viewpoints and values. It should never be.
I forget who said it. I saw it last night, so forgive me for not being able to give full credit. But you can tell that the left is trying to spin the assassination of Charlie Kirk because they're saying it's both sides.
Yeah, that's right.
If they actually had evidence that they could sincerely believe and put forth that it was someone on the right, they would not hesitate to place the blame on the right. But because they know deep down this was one of theirs, 100%. They have to spin it and play it off like it's both sides.
100%. Well, they're masters at deflection. They make their living deflecting. They're like Teflon. Nothing ever sticks to them.
Maybe that's why they hate Trump.
Probably.
Because he has the same value or the same characteristic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Can't stand that he uses their tactics against them. No wonder Donalds wants to get back to Florida, says Mike in Gulfport. Talib couldn't possibly be married. Imagine living with that. I hear you, Mike. Paul in Meridian says, I've tried to stay away from this one as much as possible, but I've seen some throw out MLK, Martin Luther King, comparisons to Charlie. I didn't know until recently that MLK had quite a few skeletons in his closet, but he is still recognized for the good he did in life. Why can't they give Charlie his credit due? Well, that's a simple answer to that, Paul. They don't think anything he did was good because he stood for values.
To the point that you have Democrats that voted against the resolution to denounce political violence and honor the life of Charlie Kirk. You have those Democrats that voted no now taking the floor, talking about why they voted no, and denigrating the good name of Charlie Kirk by calling him all the names that people they said were, oh, we didn't see anybody on the left. No, you're just blind to your own side's evil.
So true. Well, so how about this contrast, Rhino? The way in which Charlie Kirk comports himself in the face of those or engaging with those who disagree with him versus Rashida Tlaib in the way a sitting member of the United States House confronted a colleague in the chamber. That's incredible to me. So compare those two. Who took the higher road there? That's not even up for question. We should all be able to behave and follow the example of Charlie Kirk in engaging with those who don't agree with us. He set the standard for that. Can he be recognized for that? I guess not, because what he stood for is antithetical to their beliefs. We're coming right back.
There's only three things that show taxes get the trouble. Oh, this I know, baby.
Polyumpa, Mississippi.
Chewing on a piece of grass, walking down the road. Tell me, how long you gonna stay here, Joe? Some people say
America, Ventura Highway. I think that was their biggest, or I should say their biggest, their first big hit. Put them on the stage there. Kind of soft acoustic rock, I guess you would call it that. They did a bunch. My favorite one is Magic. I think, is it He Can Do Magic? I don't know. Just Magic is. I think that's
You
the
Can
answer.
Do Magic.
You Can Do Magic. Pardon me. Yeah, that's the lyrics. That's a good one. Good video on that one too. Very talented lads.
A Horse with No Name is an earworm.
Boy, that's hard to get out of your head.
It's so catchy.
Isn't it?
It'll just get stuck in your head. You'll just be humming it.
And maybe you could argue that one was preceded, I can't remember, Ventura Highway, about the same time frame they were introduced.
I think Horse with No Name came out a year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a big hit. Yeah, it will stick in your head. I like Ventura Highway better.
And then what was the one they had a couple years after that? Something Golden Hair. Sister Golden Hair.
Oh, Sister Golden Hair, yeah. That's a good one, too. That's 1975. Horse with No Name, I just looked it up, 71. You're right. Ventura Highway, 72. And then You Can Do Magic was 82. It was on down the road there. Tin Man, 74. That was a good one, too. Oz didn't give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. Where'd they come up with that? That's pretty good. Good group, though. America. On the C-Spire text line, you know, the military, that was a couple of days ago. But we can get it anyhow. This is on the 662, maybe missing a great recruiting opportunity going into the inner cities. Hey, guys, join our gang. We'll pay you, house you, educate you, feed you. By the way, your gang will never be as badass as our gang. They're doing pretty good right now. The recruiting data indicates that there is a resurgence in interest in joining the United States Armed Forces. So, but yeah, I get it. And they I think, do pretty good at appealing to those that maybe a little unsure what to do at some point in their life and looking for an escape, looking for some help with their education. But I agree. That is a route to get yourself into a better situation and stay out of trouble. With idle hands, as they say, being the work of the devil. So, also talking about the proceedings in some of these third world countries, and that's what this clip that Rhino played for us earlier featuring Rashida Tlaib and Congressman Byron Donalds, it looked like what you'd expect to see in the government halls in these emerging nations, and says flying shoes are the best. When did that happen? When Bush was over in the Middle East, and that's like a big sign of disrespect.
I believe it was shortly after the fall of Saddam, and I think he was in Iraq, and there was an Iraqi reporter that threw his shoes at him, and you could see Bush wave off the Secret Service when he missed so badly with the first one, so he ducked the second one.
He ducked.
Gave him that grin.
That's good.
Miss me.
Exactly. Nobody danced in the streets or social media when Carter passed. That's a good point. Yeah. You were talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, same deal. And there are other examples as well. One thing we know for sure, if the roles had been reversed, if this had been a prominent liberal figure that had been assassinated by a right-leaning individual, the country right now would be on fire would it not?
Yep.
On fire. That hasn't been the reaction. The reaction has been vigils, prayer, a resurgence of patriotism to some extent. Certainly a lot of soul-searching and introspection about political violence. That's not what we would get from the left. What we got, as we talked about, was the goofy Democrats after the George Floyd deal. While the country was on fire, by the way, the liberals was burning it down or attempting to, and they go out and put the dumb scarves on. So phony. It's kind of creepy, honestly. And go kneel. Remember the close-up of Pelosi kneeling? So disingenuous. And I hate to question somebody like that, but like, oh, now you're doing something dumb like this? And then, as you've pointed out, wrong colors, wrong markings on the scarves themselves, when that turned out to be traced to some group in Africa that was practicing slavery. That's the scarf you were wearing. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Which just shows you that all they care about is political grandstanding. Have they ever said anything, by the way, about the slavery that's carried out? You and I have talked about this many times, in Africa on a daily basis.
The most vocal person that I think people would consider even remotely liberal talking about it, and he's been kind of quiet in recent years, was Ashton Kutcher.
Unbelievable.
Ashton Kutcher made it his personal mission to fight against modern-day slavery and child trafficking.
A good cause. Fox News, SuperTalk News, and then the afternoon portion of Midday.
Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's hour 3, the afternoon portion of Middays. We're coming at you from the Element Wealth studio on this
Friday, y'all.
The Dow. Talk about your money for a second. It's trending up today, up 120 points. The NASDAQ also in the green, up 113 points. Crude oil, $62, still hanging around that range. So markets are looking good. Yesterday, of course, as we shared earlier, all 4 indexes hit an all-time high. The president, of course, took note of that, which he should. Now, some folks have asked about our delegations, our congressional delegations' vote on the Charlie Kirk resolution. All Republicans voted for it, by the way. The only nays or present votes came from Democrats, according to my research. Is that what you see as well, Rhino?
There were 4 no votes from Republicans that weren't there, but I haven't.
Yeah, not there, right? Not on the floor. Yeah. Okay. So, but our delegation all voted for it, and except, of course, for Benny Thompson. But the Republican delegation did. And then on the continuing resolution, I think we shared that with you earlier. All Republicans did support that except 2. Now, I just got a notification about Senate Democrats doing something with the continuing resolution, blocking it somehow already. I don't know. That just hit my phone like 2 minutes ago. I can't. Yeah, here we go. The GOP is what it says. This just passed the newswire about 5 minutes ago. It looks like the Senate GOP voted down the Democrats' funding bill. So what happened here is they had their own version, of course, And they want those votes on the record. They want the Republican senators on the record voting against extension of the health care exchange subsidies. That's mainly what they're looking for there. CC in Senatobia says that's a great point. It's fine if an employer wanted to fire Charlie Kirk for his views. It's not fine that he should take a bullet for his views. Well, of course, and I agree with you, and that's kind of what's going on here. But Rhino and I were talking offline, and I think we both agree that many of these terminations that we're seeing were already really close to being implemented, acted upon, and that this was just the old straw that broke the camel's back here. Said, okay, well, we know this has been a problem person. In the case of Kimmel, I mean, he's been sucking in the ratings. You were just sharing with me some data there, which is important because, as we've explained, the economics are such that it's advertising revenue that makes shows viable. And
Kimmel was bringing in, on average, less than 130,000 viewers from the target demographic of 18 to 49.
Meaning, when they're out selling advertising, they're selling it to those who sell to that, market their products and services to that demographic. When nationwide, you got 120,000 tuned in based on what you pay for nationwide advertising, you can't make the return on investment work on that basis. So that's what's going on there. And so you know that didn't just happen overnight. And by the way, you've seen the numbers since he's been on the air. Steady decline in viewers, right?
And that's across the board for all the late-night talk show hosts.
They're terrible. I mean,
there was a spike when they first take over, or I think in Kimmel's instance it was when the time slot changed, and it's just been a steady decline ever since.
And, you know, I'll have to say that those from my era probably remember that there was a time when I looked forward to, being allowed to stay up to watch at least a little bit of the Carson show. And there was nothing he said that was inappropriate for a young person. It was funny. It was neat. And it was also, what I remember about it was always positive and upbeat, and everybody smiling, laughing, carrying on, and
have a few laughs before you go to bed.
That was it. Doc Severinsen in the band, and Carson would always make fun of his over-the-top dress, and McMahon with his, I mean, it was just funny. It was good. And sometimes he would wander out into the audience, and that was kind of cool. And, of course, he was a great imitator-type character actor in his own right. And he had his little characters that were just funny. What happened to that?
The left in this country feel the need to make their personal politics their entire personality, and there are way too many people in politics in general, but a lot on the left, that are way too high on their own supply. They think of themselves with too much import, and they feel that it is their obligation to preach to you the gospel of the woke religion.
It's sad. It's not funny. It's the same thing with Saturday Night Live, isn't it? That it's become so highly politicized. Everything they do, and it, of course, promotes a left-wing point of view. It wasn't always like that. They would make fun of both, like Carson did. Like I said yesterday, he would make fun of when he was in California and Reagan was a governor. He'd make fun of Reagan. But he wasn't selective. But now, anything they ever say, any mockery, is always about figures on the right. I just rarely see them do that. And so it ceases to be funny. It looks more like a kind of a satire, political satire, than it does just.
Well, let's just look at the last-minute addition to the Colbert lineup last night. Oh, it's the editor for the New Yorker. I bet that's going to be a barrel of laughs.
Oh,
or was a barrel of laughs. That was last night.
I got you. Who cares about the New Yorker, which is as far left, them and the Atlantic, right? They're both way the heck out there in that respect. So here at home, the Oxford Eagle reports that a law professor has entered the race for the congressional seat 1, District 1 of Mississippi, taking on incumbent Trent Kelly. But this law professor is running on the Democratic Socialist Party. This would be Antonia Elizon. I think I pronounced it correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. And has announced this past week, Tuesday, that she is a candidate for United States Representative for the seat currently held by Republican Trent Kelly. She says as a Democratic Socialist, she's focusing her campaign on environmental justice, universal health care, and workers' rights.
That's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's time to elect progressives in Mississippi, Elizon's statement reads. As a Democratic Socialist, I intend to bring new energy to the political landscape of Northeast Mississippi and to our Democratic Party. She moved to Oxford in 2013, joined the faculty teaching international trade law, international investment law, contracts, EU law, the law of armed conflict, and law and science fiction. How about that? Focuses on primarily international trade law. She practiced in law in London for nearly 5 years before she came to Mississippi. So she said that she believes she can prevail by attracting, quote, young people in the district looking for progressive representation. It is disturbing that a growing number of young people in this country are supporting socialism and opposing and condemning free enterprise and capitalism. That is of deep concern. I maintain, however, that what they really want is transferism, what I call transferism. They just want somebody to send you some money more than anything, right? So it's really kind of crazy. KC says, little Cody intends to attend law school at Ole Miss. This is very scary. Yeah. The law school appears to be infiltrated with a number of progressives, as we say. There are some exceptions for sure. Our good friend Ron Richlack is one of those, and it used to have Christopher Green there, who's on the program a lot. He moved to Ohio State, transferred up there, Ohio State University. Leonard Skianard bumping us out of this first segment in Hour 3 of Middays. We're coming right back.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. So something else going on here locally as well. You may have seen, Rhino, that the candidate that's running for U.S. Senate in the next cycle, that would be against the incumbent, Cindy Hyde-Smith. That's Sarah Abdallah. She had a little press conference, I believe, where she's calling for the president to send in the National Guard to the city of Jackson. Not sure if you saw that or not.
Yeah, I think she quoted statistics as to saying that Jackson is more dangerous as far as the homicide rate than
Memphis, right? where the National Guard is being deployed to the chagrin of Memphis local leaders. No surprise.
But all the man on the street interviews I've seen have been
bring them in.
Glowing reviews of bringing them in.
Yeah. It's just funny to me that
the disconnect between local politicians and their constituents?
Correct.
Across the board?
Or just safety and the interest people have in our communities to be safe. Seems like you'd want to do everything you can and leverage every asset, tool, and aid at your disposal to make your cities more safe. And by the way...
But the Democrats, for the last couple generations, seemingly, have been demonizing law enforcement and the justice system as bastions of white supremacy and systemic racism.
They can't stand the fact that as a percentage of the population, it's just a fact. More crime is committed by minorities, and they don't like that. And so their approach to addressing that is not to fix whatever at the root level is causing that, but let's just arrest and convict and incarcerate fewer people. And it's just crazy to me that they point to all these statistics. Well, look at the imbalance and the disparity in arrests and incarceration. Well, maybe that's because they're committing the crimes. It just doesn't make any sense that they don't seem to have any interest in even investigating the root cause of the problem and addressing it. Rather, they just kind of want to ignore the law, honestly, is what they want to do. It's terrible. Adlaka. I apologize. I pronounced her name incorrectly, so please accept my apologies. And I knew better than that, and that's from Casey, who's on the coast, and she is too. And I'm looking at this article right now. It's Adlakha. Thank you. And she's, I had the other name on the brain for something else, but yeah, I'm looking at the photo of her at the podium, Make Jackson Safe Again poster board hanging on the front of the podium. Looks like local news channels have their mics for her to speak in, and then a couple of poster boards behind her on the easels flanking her where she's delivering is Sarah Adlakha, who is a Republican challenging Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith in 2026. Make Jackson safe again. So we'll see where that goes.
One of the faces of the Democrat Party, Jesmyn Crockett,
what's she saying?
Had this to say about crime and criminals yesterday.
People to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal.
I saw that. Is that just insane? What the heck is she talking about? What do you say? They're in La La Land? Mm-hmm. That La La Land's getting crowded, isn't it? Oh, my gosh. Will the crew be at the Hernando High School today, and what time they will be? The Sports Talk Mississippi guys will be there, I assume, Rhino, for their regular broadcast time of 3 o'clock. And can I go by and say hi? Absolutely. They would enjoy that, as you can when we're out doing remotes. And by the way, guys, we got a bunch of them scheduled. You've seen the schedule. I'll be up in New Albany for the Tallahatchie Fest next Wednesday. We got 3 days this year for Cruising the Coast. We're going to be in Moss Point, then Biloxi, then we're going to be at the new RV park there, as we were last year for the first time in Gulfport. 3 days in a row on the coast for that one. We're going to be in Tupelo for the Mega Pop event, as we were last year. We'll be there for 2 days. So, man, they got me traveling around the state here. Rhino, and MidDays will be taking the show on the road, as they say. Absolutely. Please come by and say hello. Always good to see the folks who tune in to the program and meet you face-to-face and chat a bit. Now, you know, if I have the headphones on my head, the headset on my head, that means I'm on the air. And so a lot of people will at least come up to you, and that's fine. They don't know, so I'll always kind of wave at them, let them know. And, of course, you got Houston and Alex and Scary Gary that are watching, because a lot of folks don't realize they may walk between the camera and the set there. as you know. So, but no, we are always thrilled when folks come out and see us. Big time. Zach in Oxford says, how can you be for crime? What does that make them? They're for padding and manipulating the crime statistics. That's what they're about. And that means they have to essentially go out, don't prosecute or arrest or incarcerate those people, and then they justify it. It's not their fault. And they point to all kinds of other nonsense, right?
It's like they've taken the joke by Adam Savage on Mythbusters to heart when it was meant as a joke when he said, I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Yeah. Substitute my own. Right. JJ in West Point says, this is what's going to happen. Sent a photo, and it looks like it's a Humvee with National Guard imprinted on the bottom of it, and it's up on concrete blocks with no tires on it. Oh, my gosh. Jason in Starkville, you and Scary sharing a bunk? No. Scary drives the big old SuperTalk RV around the state, and I trail him usually on the day and show up and do the show. But it's quite as Rhino knows, it's quite the production to take the show on the road. It takes a lot of people and a lot of effort. You only know about us being on the air for 3 hours, but there's a whole bunch of work that goes into that, and we're grateful to the great team at SuperTalk Mississippi that handles that for it. And I'm telling you, and I'm not kidding, when I show up, all I got to do is sit down and put that headset on, and I got to make sure I put the right one on, because I have put the wrong one on before and play like, how come nobody can hear me? You know? Oh, man. But it's understandable when you're kind of in the little crowded set that we are. But no, they do a fantastic job, guys. Really, they do. And anybody out there thinking about bringing the show to your location for your purpose, get in touch with our sales team who will help you out with that. No doubt. What else we got on here? Larry and Ma says, I meant, where were all these people, these free speech activists, when Trump was banned from Twitter? That's a good point. I thought about that as well, Larry, that not only were there deplatforming, was that going on in a big way, but now we've learned that the government was behind it, which is even worse. I mean, that's like far worse. No, don't you say this, don't you do say that in the COVID era, right, where they were pretty much controlling the messaging on that platform. And that's
the New York Post that was banned from Twitter because they dared report on the Hunter Biden laptop?
That's exactly right. The Post, Miranda Devine talks about that extensively, how they were deplatformed from Twitter because they were exposing the Hunter Biden laptop situation that nobody else would really tackle. And I got to believe that was instructions that came from on high as well, right? And the whole that whole story concerning the graft and corruption, the big guy and all that, they didn't want to talk about. What was his name? The old the founder, the CEO of Twitter, Dorsey?
Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey, yeah, before Elon Musk purchased it. So, and by the way, as far as I'm concerned, I still believe Twitter's a private company, as is X, and they have the right to do whatever they want. Where it crosses the line is when it's based on it's collusion, essentially, with the highest levels of government to control content on the platform. No, that's beyond terrible. That truly is Banana Republic crap there. That's unacceptable. Abhorrent. I mean, I could come up with all the words, but that's flies in the face of the principles of a free press or free expression in this country when the government influences content. It's too much. Coming right back in the Element Well studio.
From the
Billy Joe and Bobby Sue. Two young lovers with nothing better to do than sit around the house, get high and watch a tube. And here's what happened when they decided to cut loose. They headed down to El Paso. That's where they ran into
Steve Miller. We are back with you in the Element Wealth studio. So, Gary in the Berg says, stealing, carjacking, home robberies, way too much of this going on. Need more severe penalties where liberal judges can't let them go freely. I agree, but there's something wrong in our culture, in my view, where we have so many that end up living this life of crime, especially at incredibly young ages. And I still believe, and I know Gary believes this as well, it's the breakdown of the nuclear family is the primary culprit. And, man, if you even talk about that, as we do here, you're subject to severe castigation and rebuke. I really don't care. I believe it, and we've shared many times the data that supports that viewpoint. That's the math don't lie situation there. Doesn't mean that you're destined for a life of crime or one where you just don't succeed if you're not raised in a nuclear family, but it just means statistically the deck is stacked against you. That's been proven. You won't hear anything out of the left on that, though, right? So, speaking of which, the squad stalwart standard bearer, AOC, has been on the floor this morning. I saw her on the television. You were, I guess, either listening or watching reports here. And she's explaining. They're like going one at a time, are they not, to explain their rationale for voting against the resolution honoring Charlie Kirk. So what did she have to say here? Tell the folks.
Quote, we should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was, a man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that guaranteed black Americans the right to vote was a mistake, end quote.
Unbelievable. She's wrong about that. How could she be so wrong about something so important, so critical? Like we just fixed that problem in 1964? Is that what she's saying?
Apparently.
I know this is rhetorical. I don't know that I want you to answer it. How do you get elected to the U.S. House of Representatives when that's your understanding of something so critical that shaped our nation? Right? The two big things that came out of emancipation, recognizing that everybody here is a citizen, and second, the right to vote. Aren't those the two amendments that were ratified, installed in our Constitution?
The same amendments that the Ole Miss law professor said they would have a hard time teaching if they couldn't teach.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We talked about that the other day. They're conflicted on that because of the anti-DEI law that was passed here in the state, which, of course, said nothing of the sort. You're just grandstanding for attention.
Welcome to the bad faith, malicious compliance of leftists.
Gosh, dog, man. Just tell the deadgum truth. I mean, it's fair to have a discussion about the current state of race relations and race dynamics in this country. Sure, we should always think about that. But what's not appropriate is to just misrepresent. And in this case, the congresswoman is misrepresenting fact. Not the first time she's done that, all for political gain. And by the way, if Charlie Kirk didn't believe that black people in this country have the right to vote, I wouldn't be a supporter or a fan either. Nobody believes that, including him. And of course, they'll try to attach all kinds of qualifications to that. Well, I really meant it's too hard for them to get an ID or some crap like that in the states where you've got to have an ID. Right? I mean, there's no end to the stuff they throw against the wall in order to advance political points. Tim and McGee says, thank you, Gerard, for going on the road so much, even though I know you're doing all of this out of the goodness of your heart and don't have to. And you and Rhino educate old men like me. Y'all are the best I've heard. I appreciate the kind words there, Tim. Look, I do this because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with Rhino and all the team here. And I do feel like that if we can maybe inform a little bit, entertain a little bit, even move the needle somewhat, that, that's a noble cause, in my view, and get paid a little bit to do it, in my case. So, but I appreciate the feedback, Tim, I really do. And appreciate you, of course, tuning in. Zach in Oxford says, pointing out the hypocrisy, liberals, if I want to kill a baby, it's my body and I can do what I want. Also, liberals, if you don't take this vaccine, then you'll get fired and kicked out of the military. Also, I was 1 week from getting fired from my job and they lifted the mandate. I hate to hear that, Zach, but you're right, and there is massive hypocrisy and double standards. Rhino likes to say if there weren't for double standards, they would have none. I totally agree with that. And seems like they're sort of tasting a dose of their own medicine, and they can't handle it. As Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. And we were talking earlier, how rich is it that I'm looking at the story right now about Randy Weingarten promoting her book on fascism. Gosh, is there any person that when you think about fascism, I'd say if that word in the dictionary might have her photo right next to it, honestly. I mean, she's a tyrant in many ways, and has risen to prominence, and also another one who is in love with the attention.
And she's also funneled millions of dollars of union fees from the teachers' union to liberal causes and politicians.
Absolutely has. Lives on it, thrives on it. But yeah, that's her book. Just incredible. But I guess the whole day up there in Washington, in the House at least, will be spent with Democrat after Democrat going to the podium there to explain why they voted no. Again, political grandstanding, trying to leverage the death of a human being for personal political gain. How disgusting is that? Surely that's not where we've gotten in this country. What happened to the concept of public service? That's out the window, as they would say. Public hangings would put an end to crime. White, black, purple, yellow. First Tuesday of every month at State Capitol. Hang murderers and rapists and pedophiles. I think there's no doubt that we need stronger deterrence, because what we're doing ain't working. Now, a lot of the reason for that is they never see jail. Or they see it for such a short period of time, and then they're on the street and they go do it again. It's like a small percentage of people committing all the crime over and over and over and over and over again. And the Democrats don't seem to accept or acknowledge that. One of the members...
The three strikes rule didn't just get fabricated out of nothing. You would reduce crime by a sizable percentage if you arrested and put in jail for extended periods of time everyone that gets arrested their third time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Which is why I've suggested you need to do the 10 strikes. Because if a Republican comes out and says we need a 10-strike law, where if you can't stay out of jail and you get arrested 10 times, and that 10th time is for life, the Democrats would come out and say, well, that's unfair and racist and prejudiced and blah, 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 and prove just how stupid they are.
Yep. Someone sent me a text that said, castration, that would rein in a lot of this crime. Yeah, I tend to agree. Also, a disturbing report here about the gaming site Roblox. Shortly after the brutal killing of Charlie Kirk, they introduced an assassination simulator. Now, this is an online gaming tool that's widely used by children, right? But it's not geared for adults.
Pedophiles.
Nice. Pedophiles.
Roblox is evil. There was an individual online, I forget his name, that was finding and presenting evidence to authorities of pedophiles using Roblox to groom and then abuse children. And Roblox sent him a cease and desist.
Unbelievable. On a children's video gaming site. Yeah, maybe castration is the proper punishment there. We're coming right back with the final segment.
Body shop that's always believed in using OEM parts and repairing vehicles to their original factory condition is Clinton Body Shop. Auto accidents are stressful, and the last thing you need is a repair that devalues your car and makes it unsafe. In a time when more than ever insurers are pushing consumers to body shops that work for them and not you, we want to remind you Clinton Body Shop believes you deserve to have your vehicle returned to its pre-accident condition. That's why we use OEM parts and OEM repair procedures. In fact, we're trained and certified by more automakers than any body shop in Mississippi. So remember, it's your right to choose where to get your repair. So choose Clinton Body Shop in Clinton or Richland. As our founder always said, we really do take pride in perfection. Go to ClintonBodyShop.com.
Tired of the office grind? Ready to take a day and enjoy some time at the course? The Sanderson Farms Championship is back in Jackson. From September 29th to October 5th, come see the world's best professional golfers at Mississippi's only PGA Tour event. Whether you're a golf enthusiast or just looking for a fun day out, this event is for you. Visit SandersonFarmsChampionship.com for more information and to purchase your tickets. Take a day and join us at the Sanderson Farms Championship.
At Key Constructors, our mission is to build a legacy that will stand the test of time through hard work, dedication, and pursuing excellence. Key Constructors is a heavy civil construction company, a leader in the bridge construction world. Our goal is to provide a positive work environment for you to grow personally and in your career. We are proud of who we are and what we do, making it happen one bridge at a time. Come join our team of Black Label Bridge Builders. Check out Key Constructors on Facebook and other social media platforms and keyconstructors.com.
The mowing season is full on here in Mississippi. I'm David Frederick, owner of Frederick Sales and Service in Brandon. The industry-changing Exmark Laser Z commercial mower turns 30 years old this year and has been redesigned with even more great features you just have to see. We have a sale going on with instant rebates and 0% financing is available too. Stop by our store and let our award-winning staff show you the Exmark difference. Fredericks and Exmark, over 3 decades serving you in Brandon since 1993.
National Democrats believe they'll take control of the U.S. Senate next year. President Trump won't be on the ballot, so fewer Republicans will vote. Democrats will have piles of money, so much money that Chuck Schumer thinks they can win in Mississippi. Mississippians have a choice. Conservative Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith or liberal Democrat Scott Cologne. Cindy Hyde-Smith, a family cattle farmer and endorsed by President Trump. Scott Cologne, a liberal lawyer bankrolled by Democrat megadonor George Soros. Cologne is so radical he condemns states that ban transgender surgeries for minor children. Hyde-Smith is like us, fighting for faith, family, and freedom. Mississippi can't allow George Soros to buy a Senate seat for his puppet. Let's rally behind Trump ally Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Paid for by conservative leaders of America and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
This is
where the story of your state gets told each day. We're proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Flashing in my rear view. The sheriff said, boy, I should have known it was you. You got 14 people in the back of this truck. I warned you twice and now I'm riding you up. I said, officer, what have I done? He smiled and said, boy, you have.
All right, we're winding it down here on Middays in the Element Wealth studio. Don't forget to go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006. to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income growth and guarantees. We appreciate all the feedback, all the engagement today, and there's just more crazy stuff going on, but this is kind of a good positive thought to wind up the day and the week, and that is from Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York. He believes that the Charlie Kirk assassination will spark a faith revival among youth. That's what he's predicting. And, man, I hope the Cardinal is right. He compared Kirk to a, quote, modern-day St. Paul, did the Cardinal. I can see that. He says, and I'm quoting the Cardinal, he was a missionary, he's an evangelist, he's a hero. He's one, I think, that knew what Jesus meant when he said the truth will set you free. That's what he said just earlier this morning. He said that while Kirk had a blunt style, he had respect, did Kirk, for opposing views. I mean, how many times do we have to make that point over and over again? And there's just countless hours of video that illustrate that.
To the point where there have been at least some that claim to be on the left, registered Democrats, that have felt the need to watch Charlie Kirk's videos to see for themselves whether or not what they were hearing about his words were true. And they discovered that they were being lied to the entire time by people in their own party.
Unbelievable. Gee whiz. So, I, for one, am grateful for the Cardinals' words there, words of positivity and a positive outlook. I think looking for a bit of a silver lining. But, you know, nobody would be more pleased with that if this comes to fruition, as the Cardinal predicts, than Charlie Kirk himself from his perch in heaven, knowing that he had that kind of impact, left that legacy. Could there be anything better than causing young people to turn to Christ and God and Christian principles, which he espoused everywhere he went? The left hates that, don't they? They hate it. No, government is God, right? And I know they'll say, oh, you know, that's not true, Gerard. Man, you sure act like it all the time, though, don't you? When you refuse to accept that our founding document makes that statement right up front, that our rights come from our Creator, makes us unique. We've lost sight of that. We've drifted away from that. Unbelievable. You've also seen this morning Starbucks issued a new dress code, and of course, many of their workers, not the majority, but many, depending on the state, are in labor unions, and they filed class action lawsuits in courts in Illinois and Colorado. They're not happy about the dress code. And it's real simple. It says they have to wear a plain black shirt, either short or long sleeved, beneath their signature aprons, must cover the midriff and armpits, collars being optional. I think they actually give them a couple of shirts. They got to wear khaki black or blue denim bottoms without patterns or frayed hems, or black or solid black dresses that are not more than 4 inches above the knee. They are required to wear black, gray, dark blue, brown, tan, or white shoes made from waterproof material. Socks and hosiery must be subdued. That's the company's word. And the dress code also prohibits employees from having face tattoos or more than one facial piercing. Tongue piercings and theatrical makeup are also prohibited. So guess what? It's a condition of you being employed here. What's wrong with that? When are we going to realize?
They've convinced themselves they have a right to work at Starbucks.
And present themselves with the dress and 9,000 piercings in their head and cover themselves with tattoos. And guess what? The vast majority of their customers don't want to see that crap. And so Starbucks is determined, it's in our best business interest to ensure that our baristas look according to this profile. That's free market capitalism in a nutshell right there. That's another example of private agreements. Don't like it? Don't freaking work here. Nobody's putting a gun to your head, making you work here. We got to return to this, man. We got to get back to those just common sense principles of private individual agreements. The left hates that, don't they?
Freedom of association.
Simple as that. We're out of here. Have a great weekend. Back with you Monday. Stay safe and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.